topic for this episode is fan service and how it affects a franchise. I'm hosting this time because Acer cannot host for goddamn shit.
Debatable.
Fuck you.
It's going to be a 2-on-1 debate on that one.
You're outnumbered.
The comments will decide. People loved my Yu-Gi-Oh rant, surely.
People, go ahead. Type in the comments. Tell us how much you love Yu-Gi-Oh! And how much you want to hear Acer talk about fucking Yu-Gi-Oh! Please enlighten us. Enlighten us as to how much you want to hear him babble on about fucking terminology that nobody here understands.
Look, guys, I'm just saying, Azathoth is a bad card. And also,
Anyway.
Boken is here.
Yes, I am indeed here.
Who doesn't want to be the first thing you hear on these episodes for some bizarre reason. He refuses. Does not want to be the first thing you hear. I don't know why, but whatever.
I have my reasons. A
You're the first thing you hear
a healthy
in
amount
your
of
own videos.
self-loathing.
You're the first thing you hear in your own videos.
That implies I watch my videos.
I mean, you kind of have to, no matter what, when you're editing them.
No, I'm going by waveforms.
You're going by you're just looking at the waveform. You're just like, oh yes, the squiggly lines here definitely means I'm talking about ambience and
Yes.
the.
Oh, that
God.
waveform? I think I said gun.
Ambient gun. That should be a fucking song. The ambient gun.
The ambient gun.
Just like, it's just cool and serene, and then all of a sudden, brah, brah, brah. I'd listen to it.
Like a rap song?
I'd listen to that.
Oh, did you guys read about that rapper who's going into witness protection? He's got like 90 face tattoos. You can't put that guy into witness protection. He'll be found.
Little B?
I don't know.
I don't know either. All I heard was that Lil B is in some controversy. Or was it Lil Pump? There's too many Lils.
There's too many of them. Can't keep up.
No, I don't think it was Lil B.
No.
Base God.
It was
Base God is too chill.
It was the guy with the 69 tattooed on his face.
Is that the rapper 6ix9ine? That's
Oh yeah, I saw that.
I don't. The only thing I know about any of this is like stuff that I've just heard. I don't listen to any of these people.
Do you want me to tell you the news, or do we want to go on with the show?
Okay, go ahead. What's the news?
No.
Okay.
Hey, I'm the host.
Fucking
I get to
hell,
decide.
we said no news.
Hey, no, motherfucker. If you wanted this to just be stonewalled to be like, no, you should have been the host. I'm the fucking host. So sit down. Go ahead, Acer.
Okay, so this is some rapper guy with a 69 tattooed on his face, and he decided, I want some street cred, so he joined a real gang, and then he was arrested. He was arrested and sentenced to 47 years in jail. So he decided to rat out on the gang in favor of immunity, and then he had to go into witness protection. And he has like 10 different face tattoos. Like, this guy's career is over because he was such an idiot. At every junction, he had a choice, and he chose the dumbest thing he possibly could. Yeah, I'll join a real gang to get some cred. That won't come back to bite me.
That's pretty good. That's strong.
Can I just
not
say...
his decision making was weak, but the controversy is strong.
Can I just say, you might be the host, but I'm the editor. So, what is and isn't in the video...
Shit. Shit.
We'll have to make constant callbacks to this news story throughout the episode so that he can't cut it.
Yes!
Oh no, I can't find them all.
Aha! You have been usurped, motherfucker. Anyways, what have we been doing these past couple of weeks? I mean, I've personally been enjoying Nioh. Have any of you guys played Nioh?
No.
Nope. Next one.
Wait, neither of you have played Nioh?
No, I started watching a playthrough, but not more.
Is Nioh the Dark Souls game or the weird game with the girl with the blindfold? Which is Nioh?
Cool.
One is Nier
What?
and one is Nioh.
Oh no, you're thinking of Nier Automata.
Oh, Nioh is the samurai Dark Souls.
Yes, I beat both Nier games a while back when they came out.
Okay.
Okay, so Nioh is the Samurai Souls game made by Team Ninja. It's actually directed by the same guy that made Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1 and 2, which are pretty good remakes. And yeah, Nioh is pretty excellent. I'm enjoying it greatly. The story is a bunch of crap. I don't care about anything that's going on in the story, but I'm just all about the gameplay. The combat in this blows away any Dark Souls game or any Souls game, even Bloodborne, just blows all of them out of the water. Like the combat is vastly superior. I really enjoy the stance system in the game. So, like with each and every weapon, and there's like a bunch of weapons. You got normal katanas, you can dual wield katanas. You got spears, tonfas, kusarigama, odachi, axes. I may be forgetting another one. But anyways, so like you have all these multitudes of weapons. And on top of that, you can equip 2 weapons at a time. And you can switch between 3 different fighting styles for every single weapon. So you have a low stance where it's useful for attacking enemies that are like low on the ground, but like the main utility of it is that it's extremely fast, but obviously the individual hits do less damage. You have a medium stance, which is the balanced one, and you have a high stance where the strikes are much slower, but the individual hits do a lot more damage. And personally, I don't usually use the high stance very much, but I'm always constantly switching back and forth between like low and mid stance, unless I'm using the axe, where then I'm just using the high stance because I want to maximize the amount of power that I get out of each individual hit. So there's a lot of strategy between like what weapon you're using and how you're using it, and I love it. It is fantastic. I will say though that the level design is not as tight or as creative or as interesting as the Souls games, but it's still pretty solid level design. Like I'm still enjoying the way that the levels have like that shortcut porn that you get in the Souls games where you're like, oh, I kicked down this ladder and oh, now I can go back to the bonfire, or in this case they're shrines. So you and the shrines, I actually really enjoy them because I feel like there's more you can do with them compared to like a regular bonfire. At most bonfires, you just go to them to level up, and maybe they have like 1 or 2 other uses. Here, you can change your guardian spirit, which like changes the types of stats that you get out of them. Not only that, but it also changes your... I don't know what the name of the attack is, but like when you hold down triangle and circle at the same time, or Y and B if you have an Xbox controller, it makes it so that whatever weapon you're using is infused with that guardian spirit. So like the one I usually use is Kato, which is like a fire fox. So if I'm using a sword, suddenly my sword is just like engulfed in like this huge flame, and it changes the attacks themselves. And you're invulnerable during that as well. You can't take any damage. Although what happens is if you do get hurt during that form, it makes it so that the form is the meter goes down quicker. So you are punished if you get hurt, but like you're just not taking physical damage. So it kind of balances out. There's just a lot to the combat. It's just so much fun. I strongly recommend this game to anyone that's a fan of the Souls games. I personally find the game also a lot more difficult. With Souls games, I feel like I can tank hits better. But in this game, though, like I feel like if I take a couple of hits, then like I'm fucking dead. So there is that. So I would recommend really getting used to the idea of like wearing very, very light armor so that you can speed through everything, because I like even having like your armor around like the 70s range, which is like medium, that feels like slow enough to where you're like, this isn't gonna cut it. Where like, sorry about that. Where like maybe in like Dark Souls, you can maybe, you can maybe skirt by with a not quite the fat roll. Like Dark Souls 1 had like the quick roll and it had like the fat roll and it had a roll that was like in between. I was able to get by with that, but I feel like with Nioh, if I don't have like the fastest dodge, then like I'm not gonna make it. That's just me personally.
Well, that's how I play my Dark Souls anyway.
Just a naked guy with a club.
No, not naked, but definitely trying to stay below 25%.
I would say though, if I had to complain about this game, my biggest beef with it is the loot. There's so much. There's just so much shit. Like you'll get like 10 different types of swords, 10 different types of spears, 10 different types of helmets, and it's just so much. And like, I don't mind like menu surfing, but a lot of it just comes across as tedious, where I'm just like, okay, I have like 10 fucking like wristbands. Let me just go to the shrine so I can just turn them all into Amrita, Amrita is what the game, it's Souls, right? It's what you use to level up. That said, the game for some weird reason has a distinction between Amrita and gold. You can only use gold for blessings. Blessings are like something that you can use where you can get like different buffs, like you get more elixirs in the level, or you get more Amrita or more gold, or like it raises the item drop percentage things. And you can also use it at the blacksmith where you can forge new weapons. Actually, one thing I really like, you can make any piece of equipment look like any other piece of equipment. So if you don't like how dumb your character looks because that's the best defense or whatever, you can change it to something else that looks appropriate, and that'll cost you like 100 gold, which is not much.
But it won't change the stats.
It will not change the stats.
I love that. I think that's such a cool idea.
Yeah, it's awesome. I do it all the time when I What's up?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to go into transmog in general. Like that's a thing that I'm not sure if World of Warcraft introduced that idea, but it's something I've seen in a lot of games recently, and especially like multiplayer games, where I don't know. I feel like I understand the advantages of just making your character look like you want to, but I always felt there was something satisfying about like having the character look the way he does because of the items that you need or that you want, and if it then happens to also look great, that's like just top on top, and that kind of gets lost.
Well, I hear you, but at the same time it's a choice, right? Like you have to go out of your way to go to the blacksmith, which I mean you do that in between missions. So when you're on the world map, you can choose to go to the blacksmith and then refashion your equipment if you want. But if you don't want to do that, I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah, sure, but especially in online games, it's just, you will be seen by other people. They will judge your looks.
You'll be judged.
Yeah. And in World of Warcraft, there was this problem that like everyone was looking the same because everyone was wearing the best armor in the game, or like the best set that was like objectively superior to most other items. I don't know. I feel like there should be some kind of middle ground, but it's probably hard to reach.
I'm really enjoying what you said about Amrita and gold, where you have two separate currencies. I think that probably opens up so much, because when you have a single currency, you have to balance the price of levels and equipment and repairs and all that in a very sort of a unilateral way where you need to keep everything in mind. but it probably makes it a lot easier when you separate it into a few currencies. Gives you some.
Sure.
Gives you some.
And
it also allows you to sort
thankfully-
of cater the experience, since you can lock certain upgrades behind one currency and make sure the player won't be able to get this much here, whereas they might get X amount of, they might max it, they might grind the other currency out for early on or something.
It's funny you say that because there's actually a completely different. There's like two other systems that allow you to get two other different types of buffs and skills. So like, you have the samurai, ninja, and magic points, which allow you to just. All it really does is like you learn new moves. And that's like its own different system. And then you have like the title system where, depending on if you like, let's say you kill like 100 dudes with a sword, that will give you a certain title, and then you'll get points for that, and then you can use those points to purchase buffs such as more ki, which is like your stamina, or more. You'll get more gold, or you'll get like the elixirs will heal you more. So there's a lot to this game. There's like a lot of really interesting mechanics. Overall, I strongly recommend this game if you're a Souls fan. It's pretty awesome. I'm really loving it. But like if you're one of those Souls fans that's just like in it for the lore, no, I don't think you'll get that here.
Yeah, you said it. How involved is the story of the game? Is it like Dark Souls, or are there like more involved cutscenes?
There are cutscenes.
All right.
Yeah, and occasionally when you like find a dead body, you'll be able to hear their thoughts for some reason, and I guess you can get a little more story out of that as well. But I don't know. I don't really care about what's going on. I think it's just an excuse for a cool ass setting. One last thing I will say, something I'm not like a super big fan of, is the health system. Not the health system, but the elixir system works exactly the same as it does in Bloodborne with the blood vials. Yes. So you can only hold 8 at a time. Maybe you can hold more, and I haven't unlocked that, but like you can only hold 8 at a time, and your storehouse will carry any excess that you have. So what ends up happening for me is I literally have like 150 in my storehouse. I should be using them willy-nilly, but because I have that mindset of that hoarder mindset, like I'm so conservative with how I use my elixirs that like I'll be like really low on health and I have like 8 elixirs, but I'll still think to myself like, no, I should conserve these. Like But no, yeah, great fucking game. Highly recommend it.
I'll check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of which, you've been playing Hollow Knight, which has also been compared to Souls games.
For
so why
some
don't you talk
fucking
about that?
reason. That really annoys me.
I haven't fucking
That
really
really
played
annoys
it.
me.
I don't know.
Even Zero Punctuation made a video, like with the express purpose in the video to just, okay, let's compare 2 games that are like Dark Souls. And then he brought Hollow Knight into it. Just why? It's fucking Metroidvania.
Okay, so
I don't know.
there are 2 things you can I would say you can link to Dark Souls. Number 1, when you die, you lose your souls, and you have to you lose all your money, and you have to run and get it. Otherwise, you lose it again if you die again.
Yeah, that's one
not
mechanic.
That's one mechanic, and it didn't even originate in Demon Souls, so Souls shouldn't have the claim to it. But Souls. Souls is a metric.
Do you know where it came from?
No, but I saw some video where somebody said maybe it did originate and that guy was lying, but no, I think it originated in some NES game, some platformer game there.
Maybe Rogue.
Yeah, it was. You know what? It was probably some Rogue game.
The original Rogue.
Oh.
Which spawned the roguelike subgenre, maybe.
Oh. Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
But I don't
know.
I don't think, like, that's such an obvious mechanic that I don't think Demon Souls would have been the first. It would amaze me if Demon's Souls was the first game to implement that.
Here's the thing, though. It may have not been the actual first, but it's the one that popularized it.
Yeah. And the other thing...
It's probably Dark Souls that actually popularized it, to be fair.
Yeah, that's to be fair. And the other thing is, it's got involved and intricate level design. Oh my god, it's a Dark Souls game, guys.
Almost like a Metroidvania. Oh.
Dark Souls is a Metroidvania.
Okay, but I need to ask you this.
Okay.
Is Hollow Knight closer to Castlevania or Metroid?
I have never played Metroid, and I've only played like 2 hours of Castlevania.
I haven't played much Metroid either, but I'm
swine.
pretty sure it's more like Metroid.
No, see, I think it's... Okay, Metroid is all about acquiring new items that allow you to progress through the levels differently, right?
Yes.
So is Castlevania.
Oh. Then what's the difference between those two games, would you guys say?
Castlevania's
not
puts
a
more
game.
emphasis on combat.
Yeah. You don't agree with that?
No, I'm just like, okay, where do I put Hollow Knight into that? Because Hollow Knight combat is good, but it's... I'm not sure if it's the focus, but it's obviously a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that in Castlevania the combat is the focus. I'm saying, comparatively speaking, the combat gets more attention compared to Super Metroid, where not specifically Super Metroid, but like in Metroid in general, the combat is more of a means to an end.
I would probably say it's more of a means to an end in Hollow Knight.
No, you get a lot of abilities.
Oh. Well,
Like, there's a lot of shit you can do.
I'm not super far into the game.
See, I would say in Metroid games, you do get a lot of abilities that are centered around combat, but it definitely comes across to me like they're less about actually giving you more utility for the combat, and they're more so about how you can use these new abilities to traverse in the world, like the wave beam, or using missiles to unlock doors, or the power bomb so you can destroy certain blocks. Combat to me always just seemed like it was there as like, well, I guess we gotta have combat, but it felt like there was much more love put into, well, what can you use these abilities for in order to explore the world in a more interesting way?
Yeah, I think Hollow Knight is both, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
Hollow Knight has a lot of traversal options that you unlock and that let you open up the map. But then at the same time, it has this skill. It's not a skill system. It's like a badge system where you can equip
Quote
a bunch
unquote
of
customize.
yeah, customize your character, and you have like a limited number of badge slots. And one badge can take up like 1 or 2 or 3 slots, and so you can equip as many as fit. And sometimes they really, like, even in combination, really change how your character plays, or let you focus on magic instead of fighting, or the other way around. There's a lot there.
It's like Metroid probably under some qualification, and more like Castlevania under others. But it's really good. It's super good.
I love the art style. Art style looks fantastic.
I think the art style... I'm a big sucker for the sprite, weird sort of... what's the guy's name who did the Alien?
H.R. Giger?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when you use pixel art to emulate that, like I see in Metroidvania thumbnails and clips. But
and Darkseid.
Okay, but
Oh, you've never heard of Darkseid?
I probably have. I just don't know.
It's a very old point-and-click adventure game where H.R. Giger actually helped create like art for it.
What? I don't know anything about video game, you guys.
It's a terrible game. I strongly advise not actually playing it, but I would advise like maybe watching like a Let's Play or something, because it uses a lot of like dumb moon logic nonsense. Like I remember trying to play it and I was just like so frustrated with it because of the obtuse design.
These screenshots are really good.
but like it was worth going through just to see all the artwork because the artwork is really cool. It's not even worth going through for the story because the story's just a bunch of dumb shit. It's just worth it to just see like H.R. Giger's artwork because it just looks really cool in this like low res, like old school point and click adventure game.
Hmm? Yeah, and Hollow Knight, I'm a big, like I said, I'm a big sucker for sprightly pixel art, but I'm also a big fan of what they did with this game. It looks really fluid, looks really kind of cute, but it's also got that melancholy vibe going for itself.
Yeah. What I enjoy a lot about it is that every area has like its one defining color. And they don't really reuse colors, but it's just, you look at the background, you look at the color, and you know exactly where you are. And it just looks so rich, but at the same time very unified. I don't know.
Mm.
It's a beautiful game.
Also a lot of terrain variety.
3 fucking people made this thing. It's huge. Yeah. I think there are 3 now. I think there were 2. It's like the couple, like a married couple. Team Cherry.
Wait, no, I think you're thinking of Salt and Sanctuary. That was made by a married couple.
Yeah, that might be. But it's still 3 people then.
Yes, Team Cherry is still... I don't know if it's 3 specifically, but I do know that Team Cherry is like only like a handful of people.
Yeah.
You guys know what I want to do? I want to do like an over-the-top sort of Zelda game that takes place in modern times, and you play a boy, and you're going to school, and when you go to school, it turns into this crazy Metroidvania level where, you go on, oh my god, I need to go to the top floor, and there are like 13 different floors with all the different students. And
Persona?
No. Really? They stole my idea?
It's kind of Persona, yeah. I mean, not really lost in school.
Persona 3. Persona 3.
Oh, that might be. I haven't played that.
Like, yeah, in Persona 3, the school turns into the Tartarus Tower at night.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Because that's
it's not a Metroidvania, but like...
That's what going to school was when you were a kid. Like, you went into the different offices, and every year a new part of the school was opened up, and you got to go into these different computer classrooms. And,
well, the Tartarus is more so, like, designed around the fucking emotions and the strife and the thematics around, like, suicide and death and shit like that. It's not actually based around... theming itself as a school, so your idea still has life.
I'd say that should be like a Harry Potter open world game where you're like a new student in Hogwarts and you're just trying to figure out what the school is and then where everything is, and then you run into a lot of magical shit.
That would actually work though. That would be a really good way to introduce people to like the school. Do you guys like Harry Potter? I hate Harry Potter.
I'm indifferent.
I liked it. I feel like at this point I need to go back and read those books again, because back when I read it I didn't mind it as much, but even then I realized there was some hacky writing in there. Like and Harry stumbles into a lot of coincidences and situations where he learns vital information by pure chance. Like even back then when I wasn't critical of media, I noticed that.
Did you also are you also then going to reread all of J.K. Rowling's tweets where she retcons the series?
No.
There was one recently where she was talking about like, actually I never said Hermione was white, and some guy linked a photo of a page where it was like Hermione's white face was stunned in disbelief or something like that. It's like, why? Why can't you just allow the work to it's the George Lucas thing where you can't leave it alone. Anyway, that's Hollow Knight.
Can I ask a racist question?
Of course.
Can only white people be pale?
I think it was like her white face was stunned in disbelief.
So not a pale face.
No, it was like she
meant that.
It may have been,
but I'm not sure if you can actually be pale.
But she's white on the covers of the books.
Okay, so instead of like reading Harry Potter, you should instead watch Lindsay Ellis's video about Death of the Author. It's much more worth your time.
We were gonna do that subject once. Do you guys remember?
Were we?
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. You did bring that up.
We can still do it at some point, but not this episode.
But not now. That's Hollow Knight, baby. I also played Tetris 99.
Oh, before you move on to Tetris, I just want to quickly say about Hollow Knight. If anyone was worried about like jumping into it because they've been like patching the game, it's done now. So you can actually play the game, and it's a complete game now.
You could have played it before. Ahead. It was complete.
Well, it's even more complete now.
It's completer.
It is literally like 112% complete now.
Did you guys
ever read Animal Farm, where they kept changing what they wrote on the wall?
Yes.
Yeah, that's this conversation.
Yeah. What? Whatever.
I remember that book. What a weird, interesting book.
That's just a great book. Anyway,
yes.
I also played Tetris 99. Or Tetris 69. That's the callback to the rapper who was in jail.
Oh. Not the sexual position?
No.
Brilliant.
See, I've tied it all around, so now he can't edit it out. Tetris 99.
Oh, no.
We said we were going to do it, and you didn't do it, Daniel, so I took the leap. Tetris 99, I read people saying, it's like Fortnite for the rest of us. It's Fortnite for people who love puzzles. It's really good. I really love it. It's a super good game.
Oh my god.
It is such fun to play Tetris competitively against people.
Is it better or worse than Tetris Effect?
I've never played... I'm not a Tetris nerd, Daniel. I've played Tetris...
Excuse me.
Neither am I, but Tetris Effect is worth playing because it's like...
I think they're different. Like, Tetris Effect goes for the atmosphere, and Tetris 99 is obviously a variation on the core Tetris gameplay.
It's a battle royale, guys. They turned Tetris into a battle royale, and it totally works.
Yeah, but come on, it doesn't... Tetris Effect has, like, the whole synesthesia angle to it that makes it, like, really cool.
You
Tetris
can't compare that.
Got that shit.
And, well, you don't have to compare that. Both can exist in this world.
No,
Tetris
one of them has to survive. There can only be one. It's Highlander.
99 Tetris games are thrown on an island.
But a bitch ain't one.
Yes, only one can survive.
Did you guys...
Someone's knocking on my door. I'll be right back.
Tell them to fuck off. You're doing a podcast.
This is important.
Coming.
Anyways, it's Daniel's gone. Bogan, let's you and I really talk about this. What are we going to do about that guy?
Let's get someone new while he's not looking.
I make this joke every time somebody has to briefly stand up when I'm doing one of these podcasts.
Great.
Yeah,
so how's Tetris? You're not a nerd?
I'm not a nerd, you guys.
Are you good at Tetris?
I know how to play I'm not good at Tetris. Like, there are guys who can do amazing algorithmical reasoning, spatial problem solving with Tetris. I just play it like a casual, like a scrub.
Like you're just in the moment looking at the pieces and then, oh, where's this going?
Oh, I have this block. Well, I can put this block here, and what do you know? I've created one Tetris.
Yeah.
I also save all of the long bits, even though I hear you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to save the chunky bits, the cubes.
Really? Okay.
I
wouldn't know, man. I'm terrible at Tetris, and I've never really looked into it. Like just a few weeks ago, I learned that the pieces that are coming down are not actually random.
Oh.
There's like, at least that's how I understand it, is they go through a rotation of like every piece has to come once, and then when they're all done, the cycle starts new. But the order in which they are coming down is random. But you're guaranteed every piece before it comes again.
Ah.
Yeah, that's wild.
I'm gonna use that to my advantage next time I play Tetris. The reason you're supposed to save the chunkier bits is because you're supposed to leave an opening to fill a line, and the opening should be 2 blocks, not 1 block. Because when it's 1 block, you're always going to get screwed. When it's 2 blocks, you can use almost every piece to fill it, and the cubed one is the best way to solve that problem or something.
I see. That makes sense. Do you know what a T-spin is?
I think no. I think you're supposed to rotate a cube completely or something. I don't know. I know. Do you know what the T series is, which PewDiePie is always competing against?
What the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know. A T-spin. What are you talking about T-spins?
I don't know. I always hear that shit, and I don't know what they're talking about when they bring up T-spins. And that's apparently like a pro tactic in Tetris.
Oh, you know what it might be? It might be doing a full rotation of a block that's already hit the ground to keep it on, to keep control over it longer, to delay time running out or something.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
That sounds wild. I feel like you should have seen that in Tetris 99. Apparently people are really good at that.
Yeah, you see, you can get like a blip which goes, T-spin. No, I'm thinking of Tetris Friends.
What? You just played it.
I think you get like little, I don't think a woman says it, but I think you get a little, like a pow effect where it goes, T-spin, Tetris, and stuff like that.
Huh. So, but why would you spin it on the ground?
To keep time running out, I think. Because as soon as you lose control over the block for X amount of time, the next block comes down. But if you keep rotating it while it's already hit the bottom, you don't get to the next cube right away.
But you can you still move it on the ground?
Yeah, a bit.
But you can spin it and also go left and right, but it's already on the ground, and then when you let go, it actually clicks in.
Yeah, you when it hits the ground, you can still move it, rotate it, and then you can keep moving it even when it's you can slide it around. You can't slide it over anything, but you can spin it over something. Depending on its shape.
That's fucking wild. What the fuck? That sounds cool.
I think that's been pretty standard Tetris for 20 years now.
Yeah, but I don't know. Because of Tetris Effect, there was the first time. I mean, I didn't play it. I played the demo, but that's when I started really listening to people talking about Tetris.
I'm back.
Daniel, do you know what a T-spin is?
I've heard of it.
Yeah, me too. We're not sure.
No.
If only I had a magical device that let me look up information on the internet.
Some games give scoring rewards for twisting a tetramino into a tight space. When this is done with a T-tetranimo, it is called a T-spin. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I see.
You put it into a space it shouldn't be able to get into. That's cool.
From the side or something. Huh.
Yeah.
So Tetris, huh?
Tetris. It's the best game ever or something.
No. Fuck that. I never understood that. People say that? Okay, it's Tetris.
Yeah, people love Tetris, man.
I can see why Tetris Effect is cool, because what they do with those visuals and in terms of dynamic soundtrack and all that, that is actually fucking cool. I wish I cared more about Tetris, because then I had reason to play it.
Yeah.
But that is so fucking cool what they do.
Tetris is a lot like a Rubik's Cube, where I could imagine taking like a few hours to learn everything about it, to sort of learn the algorithms and figure out how to best play it. But why would I ever want to do that? Why on earth would I ever subject myself to studying Tetris?
Well, because now you have a competitive Tetris game.
That's true.
In which only one can survive.
Only one can last. Also, you can attack other people in the game. You can attack other people. Did you guys know this?
I mean, there have been, like, isn't Puyo Puyo Tetris and all that already kind of competitive? Or at least there have always been versus Tetris modes where you can just spawn garbage on the other player's screen.
Yeah, okay, so that's not new. Alright then. That's Tetris, guys! We'll be right... No, we're not done. Do you guys want to talk now?
Daniel, I think we're not hearing you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
He's just
No, I
quiet.
just was not. I was just not speaking.
You were like
just
sending signals, but okay.
Dude, my fucks for Tetris are very variant.
Well, sure, but when Acer says, "What are we talking about next?" That would be when the host comes back in.
Fair enough. It's just that when I was just tuning out all the Tetris talk because I just don't fucking care.
What's this? What?
Oh, it's the new Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, okay. Boken.
Acer, you now have the obligation to really get into Tetris so you can bore us with that and Yu-Gi-Oh!
Okay, guys, so there's these Yu-Gi-Oh cards which are based on Tetris for some reason.
No! Stop!
They are.
Stop!
I'm joking. Obviously, they are not. I could imagine Konami doing that, though. They are all about gimmicks in this fucking game. Gimmicks and smug anime girls. What do you guys want to talk about? Speaking of smug anime girls, what do you guys want to talk about? I'm talking about your avatars.
What? What avatars? What the fuck are you talking? What?
I've been up since like 4 in the morning. I don't know.
Boken, please talk about something.
Okay, there's a game out right now that is called Apex Legends.
Oh,
I've
never heard of it. What is this obscure game?
Dude, it's crazy how much that thing has blown up. And it's not like it's really cool, but you can kind of feel that it's a game in its first weeks, just in terms of what content is actually there. And I'm curious how much they will actually rush out new content now. Like, that is one map and a bunch of weapons and like 8 characters. 8 characters is really nothing, but it's captivating everyone, and that's wild to me.
For some reason. I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't have an opinion.
It's if you like Battle Royale, it's a fucking fun game.
I've never played a Battle Royale game.
It captures a lot of what makes Battle Royale cool, but it has a lot of good streamlining without losing all the complexity. Like a lot of the complaints about PUBG are that it's clunky and slow and like your item management is really obnoxious and almost like when good PUBG players loot items, it almost feels like they're using an exploit because they're like opening up this menu and just running over the ground, grabbing shit with their mouse, and they're not even clicking on the actual items and all that. So that shit is gone. And in this game, there's a bunch of really smart, just streamlining in terms of, okay, you have a shotgun. Your shotgun can have 4 upgrades, like this shotgun stock and a visor and magazine extension. And then you can find these items, you just click on them, it's going to put them in automatically. And if you find a better shotgun stock, it's going to just swap the good one with the bad one with the good one and leave the bad one on the ground. So, you just go up to the shit and you click E.
Right.
That's easy. That's fine.
What's the player base like?
Like in terms of...
I tried to get into Fortnite, and I kept getting killed by dabbing 9-year-olds, so I quit.
I wouldn't know if they're
base on
dabbing
Apex
9-year-olds, but I have my character, who I gave the skin of a bald woman, and someone told me she looks like shit. And then I got mad. Yeah, no, like some people are assholes as always. Some people are helpful. There's a very smart ping system in the game. Like they kept the developers played this game without voice communication to test out how the best non-voice communication system would work. And now you can just look at something and ping it, and your character is going to say, over there is X, Y, and Z. And you can point it out to people. You can open up a loot chest and say, oh, there's like a sniper stock here. And then you just ping it and say, okay, there's a sniper stock level 3 here. And then the other characters can actually see it on their screen, like as a little icon. Okay, he pinged, there's a sniper stock there, and then they can hover over it and ping themselves, and then the character calls, okay, dibs, I need that. And then
that's super cool.
And then you can just go over there. They will always be shown where it was, and it's smart.
Wait a minute. I'm reading an article here. Apex Legends is EA's move to out Fortnite. Are you a shill poking? Are you making apologies for EA?
No, dude, it's the Titanfall guys. They deserve a break.
I'm just joking. I absolutely have no feelings regarding EA.
What? Can you not fucking hate EA?
EA?
How can you not hate EA?
Oh, hate EA. Have you guys? Have you guys been following their stock price?
No.
What? Why?
Because whenever there's an outrage, the prices go down, and then a week later they're back to normal value. Every time, without fail, Reddit makes anybody who invests in EA a lot of money. You can get like a 10 to 20% return on investment, before taxes, in like 2 or 3 weeks. It's insane. It's like
sounds like a strategy.
It's like Micron Technologies and AMD. They did this a lot too. I think what's her name, Susan something, who was the head of AMD, I think, or maybe she was the head of Micron. I don't know, but that gravy train has sailed. You're talking about Apex Legend.
Yes, and
I interrupted you.
I feel like I will be playing that game for a while, so I can just check back in when they have added something new. They added the first new piece of gameplay. No, fuck Anthem. I'm so glad BioWare's dead.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, let's be real. They've been dead for a long time.
Yeah.
What are you guys saying? I'm playing Knights of the Old Republic. Their story doesn't end well. Oh my god.
Weren't you playing 2?
Yeah,
I've
that's
played both of them.
They didn't even make 2, which is the better game.
I know. Both true things you said.
Although they did make Jade Empire. I have a soft spot for that game. I think that game.
I never played that, but I feel every time I hear people talk about it, it's more considered a like mid-tier BioWare RPG.
Yeah, it's more so the potential that it had that makes me like fond of it, because like I feel like they didn't push it far enough. They had like a really cool and unique world, and the combat's just kind of meh, and the story is like okay, and the characters are pretty solid, but like, man, that combat system could have been fucking awesome. Like it could have been badass. You got kung fu wizards going around shooting Hadokens made out of fire. It's awesome, like conceptually. But
you know who also
the game
does
itself.
that?
What?
Ryu in Street Fighter.
I'm sure he does.
What? He does, and he's a wizard.
Why?
He's a certified wizard.
Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this bit?
What?
He's talking about Jade Empire.
I'm talking about Jade Empire, and you're like, but Street Fighter, no.
But Ryu shoots fire Hadokens. Well, even Ryu does.
But you can also shoot like ice ones, or like, or a rock. You just literally like shoot a rock out of your hand.
There is an ice character in Street Fighter V. There's no rock character, unfortunately.
Whatever, dude. The point is, they should make it.
Is Jade Empire a D&D game like Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate and KOTOR and all those games were?
I don't know.
KOTOR isn't
so.
a D&D game? What the fuck?
KOTOR is a D&D game.
No.
They created.
Do you know what D&D is?
Yeah,
Or
okay.
am I a
It's a D&D like. They created a game out of D&D which could facilitate doing Star Wars. It's not like a D&D in the worlds or using like, the exact rules of D&D.
But D&D is like
it's
it
a
has
D&D
defined
adaptation.
classes and
It's a D&D adaptation, I should say.
No, it's not. Jade Empire's an action RPG.
Huh.
Well, then it has absolutely no excuse for having bad combat.
Yes, it does, because it was using BioWare's engine that they used for games like KOTOR and tried to like...
God, that shitty Aurora engine.
Yeah, so they made an engine for RPGs, and then they tried to make an action RPG out of it, and as a result, the combat is like really weird and wonky.
Do you guys want to hear a funny story? BioWare, they created an engine once, and then they modified it, made it better to do KOTOR, I think. And then when the CD Projekt Red guys were gonna make Witcher 1, they got the engine from BioWare, but they got the old engine from BioWare. They didn't get the improved engine.
What a bunch of dicks!
You know what? That's where CD Projekt Red should have gone. No, you know what? Let's just use Unreal or something. Wait, I'm gonna check it out. I know
No wonder that game runs like ass.
It's like an engine from 1998 or something. The Aurora. No, first it was the Infinity engine, and then it was the Aurora engine, and the Witcher guys kept using the Infinity engine.
What? But the Infinity games are top-down. Like, they're isometric.
You know what? I may have just been talking out of my ass here. I think that's what they did.
Great.
Hold on.
I do know for a fact though that the Witcher engine for the first game is a BioWare engine. You are right about that. I just don't know which one.
No. It's the Aurora engine, and then they did the Odyssey engine to do KOTOR.
What engine is Dragon Age in?
That would be in probably... Why are we talking about this? Oh, hey! The Odyssey engine was also used to do Jade Empire.
We're talking about this because I wanted to bring up that, you said they made an engine for an RPG, and then they made an action RPG, and the combat was garbage. And that's exactly what happens. What happened with Dragon Age, and then Dragon Age, what's it called?
Dragon Age used the Eclipse engine, which was the successor to the Odyssey engine. It didn't seem like it was an updated, though. Maybe
so was Dragon Age
the
first game in the whatever engine? Eclipse engine?
It's the first one they have listed here.
Oh. So exactly that should happen again. Oh, well, I don't actually know if Dragon Age Inquisition is in the Eclipse engine, but it looks similar.
This is such thrilling content to the listener, don't you think?
Whatever. BioWare's fucked now.
BioWare
sucks.
Fucked. How the mighty have fallen.
He's doing Dying Light, isn't he? Chris Avellone? Was he with
yes.
BioWare?
Oh, yes.
No, he wasn't. He was with Obsidian.
He was with Obsidian. Whoops.
But Chris Avellone is doing Dying Light too.
He wrote KOTOR 2.
He's such a good writer because he wrote KOTOR 2.
He also wrote, what's it called? Fucking...
Planescape Torment.
Game. Yes, Planescape Torment.
I never played that one.
Beloved classic. Chris Avellone is so good. Like he wrote a bunch of characters for Pillars of Eternity 1, and you can immediately tell which characters they are.
Oh, he wrote. He was the lead designer on New Vegas, wasn't he?
Yes, he also wrote New Vegas.
I'm such like, you guys know about this stuff. I'm such a newbie that I go like, I'm such a mainstream, mouth breathing loser. I'm like, oh yeah, he did New Vegas too, didn't he?
Okay, if you say so.
If I say so.
I don't know fucking shit. Danny is the one who always comes up with, That manga author always made 2 characters for this obscure fucking anime.
What the fuck?
It was my best Daniel impression.
Daniel is always like, oh my god, my collection of waifu statuettes, they're ruined.
Yo, fuck you guys. I don't sound anything like that.
So yeah, good game, Apex Legends.
I can't really argue against the waifu statue collection though. I'm pretty fucked on that end. Anyways, speaking of weeb shit, Boken.
Oh man,
what's this about a silent voice? Isn't that an oxymoron?
I'm not even sure
I mean, how can a voice be silent?
Actually, it's weird because the name of the anime is actually Koe no Katachi, which means the shape of the voice. I'm not sure why they translated it to
more sense.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Do we even want to talk about this topic? My mind is all over that. Like
you're the one that put it in the fucking doc.
Yeah, I know, but I put it in there a week ago or something when it actually happened, and then I'm still not in a place where I feel like I can talk about this. Okay, let me put it this way.
Okay, you don't have to if you don't want to. It's fine.
Have you guys ever showed someone who doesn't watch anime an anime, and then it was weird?
No.
Yes and no. Like, I have showed people anime who are not like big into anime, but it didn't get weird. What do you mean by weird exactly?
I mean by weird, not that the content was weird. Well, okay, the content was weird in the sense of you felt like you had to kind of apologize.
Oni-san,
yeah,
we're locked in this tight room together. Tee-hee-hee-hee.
Or like you have to be the translator for some of the weirdness in anime to someone who doesn't watch a lot of anime.
Yeah. Look, there's a lot of pedophile undertones to anime, but that's not why I like it. Let's just keep watching.
No,
it
that's not
really
what I mean.
I think you just inadvertently quoted an Elfen Lied fan.
What?
A what fan?
Elfen Lied.
Oh no.
Have any of you guys seen Elfen Lied?
No.
I've seen it. Oh my god, it's so good. They killed a dog.
That is like one of the worst fucking anime I've ever seen. Fight me. I swear to God, if you like that show, you can fight me on it. I will never back down. That show is trash. It is utter garbage.
But what about the scene where the girl, she's very stoic, but then she's like a weird cat girl sometimes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super good.
That sounds like something that I would have to explain to my friends who are watching it and go, what the fuck are you doing with your life?
What, one of these days we should do an episode on how, like, gateway to media. Like, you don't show somebody anime by playing JoJo. You play like, it's Death Note. It's like the very grounded but kind of stylized. Same with video games.
You know what's funny about that?
Bebop.
I watched that. Yeah, I watched that A Silent Voice with friends. Like we have a film night, right? Every week, and I know they don't watch a lot of anime, but for that particular day, before we started watching that movie, I showed them the clip from JoJo Part 5, where they do the torture dance. I don't know if you guys know that one.
Yeah.
No.
But I fucking love that clip, and I just felt like showing it to them because it's so good.
That's such a good scene.
Yeah.
I do have a story where I let one of my coworkers from my previous job, I let him borrow my copy of Perfect Blue. And that was like the first anime he had ever seen. He came back and he said he did like it, but that he was like, yeah, it was good, but it doesn't make me want to watch more anime. And I'm like, fair enough. I just wanted to show you a good movie. And he's like, yeah, it was good. So
I hate that movie.
What?
Are you serious?
The fuck?
Are you fucking serious right now?
I only watched the first half of it. But there's like this girl who's a ballerina or something. No, she's a dancer. And the guy...
No, she's not. She's an idol.
She's an idol.
She's an I. She's a singer, dancer, or something.
Dude, that movie's
She's
so
an idol.
good.
I gave
That's
up
like-
on it.
That's literally my favorite anime film of all time.
Yeah, mine too.
Really?
Probably.
Yes.
Okay, I watched this movie many years ago when I was like a teen trying to get into good media, and I thought, this is so boring, and the characters are so boring, and nothing is happening. I'm gonna shut this off, and I'm gonna go watch Batman. That's a real show. That's a real movie. Is it good? Is it really good?
This is your homework now, motherfucker. You're
Yeah.
gonna watch Perfect Blue.
There's like this ugly guy, isn't there? There's a guy who's really ugly.
Yes.
Yes.
I remember he held his hand and he was like, oh, she's in my hand. I got you in the palm of my hand.
Perfect Blue gets kind of weird towards the end, but it is one of the more grounded and real anime I've ever seen. And it actually has something to say about society and like...
But like it getting weird towards the end, it fits.
Yes, totally.
It's great because it blurs the line between, like, I've seen that movie probably like 5 times, and when that gets to that point, I still to this day have trouble understanding like which parts are real and which parts are like in her head.
I actually know that the director Satoshi Kon, I know he's very highly regarded. Did he make...
Yes.
What other movies did he make that I should watch?
Millennium Actress.
Millennium Actress. He did Paprika, didn't he?
He did. That's like my least favorite movie by him.
And I won't watch that one then.
It's not bad. It's just compared to his other work, it's like clearly inferior.
No,
he also did.
In the Battle Royale that is the work of Satoshi Kon, I won't watch that one.
Fine, whatever. He also made Tokyo Godfathers, which is a delight. That is just a delightful film. It's so much fun.
He's dead, right?
Yes, he unfortunately passed away, and he was in the middle of working on another movie called it was something Dream, like Dream Factory or something like that. I forget exactly what, but someone over at Madhouse has been trying to get that film finished for like the past decade.
They should hire me to do it.
No.
I'm like the biggest fan of Satoshi Kon. You don't even know. Did you see that final scene in Perfect Blue? What are we doing, guys?
What? Hey, let me fucking get back to topic, okay?
One more recommendation. He also did. He didn't direct this one. He only wrote it, but it's still really good. Magnetic Rose, which is
oh, he did that.
which is like the first part of the Memories trilogy. I haven't even seen the other 2 parts because I didn't care.
Yeah, don't bother.
Magnetic Rose is so excellent. Like it was so good that I knew in my heart, like, I don't like the other 2 are just like not going to live up to it.
They won't. Like the second part of Memories is really bad. It's like a mock-up kaiju thing, but with like slime or something. That's not good. The third one is interesting in terms of art style and just art in general. Like I think it's one continuous camera shot in an anime of, I don't know, some military operation, but it's all very stylized and cartoonish, and
it sounds cool at least.
It's worth looking at for the visuals, but otherwise, like, Magnetic Rose is way above that.
Yeah, Magnetic Rose is like as close to perfect as you can get. It's so good.
Anyway, there are certain things about anime I feel like, in terms of narrative, are just weird for Westerners, and I feel like I've gotten used to that. But I always feel like when other people with me watch that, it's just weird. And I feel like I have to explain myself or explain what's actually happening or make excuses. And I don't like that feeling, but it's just there.
I kind of get what you mean.
Like, it's characters constantly talking to each other, to themselves, and like having inner monologues but they're outer monologues, and they're just explaining what they're feeling in that moment. It's so
you know
weird.
what? That's something that actually bothers me. It didn't used to, but then a friend of mine pointed it out, and now whenever it happens, it bothers me because they could have just as easily made it an inner monologue, and it would have made more sense, and it would be less jarring than to have characters like literally just walking around and be like, let me monologue about my innermost darkest feelings. Just talk about it out loud to myself.
But that is so ubiquitous in anime in general. It's just at some point you just have to accept that is a standard narrative tool for Japanese media, I think. And it's not, you can't really criticize that.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, why isn't it just an inner monologue? Why do they have to physically speak?
I'm not gonna get into this in any more depth, but Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of subversive when it comes to this stuff. Anyway,
I thank you for your brevity on the subject.
Yes. What else? Like the friend of mine, when we were done watching, she said, it's weird because sometimes she felt like the anime over-explained everything, and then in other scenes it didn't explain anything. And that's
in silent voice?
Yes, and that's such an anime thing to me, where it's just weird and tough to figure out at one time, and then in the next scene it's just characters blatantly telling you what's going on and how they feel and what will happen, and over-explaining every step. That's, I don't know, man.
That's kind of like Evangelion.
Yeah. Evangelion is weird and has a lot of weird pauses and subtlety, and then at the same time just people yelling at each other.
Yeah. I think that's why I like it, though. I don't know. My complicated feelings towards Evangelion has already been well documented.
Did Satoshi Kon do Evangelion?
No, that was Hideaki Anno.
Hideaki Anno.
Who also did Shin Godzilla, which was actually pretty good.
The fucking puppet Japanese Godzilla movie. Get out of here. That's good?
Yeah, it's actually good. Like, it's hilarious because, like, half the movie is just, like, this scathing criticism of how bad the government is in Japan. Because, like, they... literally half the movie is, like stuffy men in suits in, like, offices, like, talking about how they're going to, like, talk about maybe solving the problem.
Jesus.
And then they'll and it's the funniest thing because then they will like, okay, this isn't the proper room to discuss this topic. So then everyone gets up so they can move to another room to talk about the subject. It's the funniest thing. Like, it's so funny. and while all of this is going on, like, Godzilla is like just either like not even doing much and just like evolving, or is actively like wrecking shit, and it's awesome. Some of the scenes with Godzilla are they're so good. But anyways, Boken, are you done talking about A Silent Voice?
Well, I mean, it's a film about a deaf girl, and the main character is like a school bully, and then he bullies her, and then shit goes south. And then he kind of goes on a redemption tour. And it's a cool movie. It's kind of hard to follow because there's a lot of characters who are all like being developed at the same time. And you're like focused on the main character, trying to understand him. And then suddenly, oh, this character's having his scene now. What the fuck? So I feel that felt like a movie that I immediately wanted to watch a second time because you probably get more out of it if you know where it's going. But yeah, it's nice and heartwarming. And yeah, I guess I can recommend it. No, I'm done.
Sweet.
Okay. Actually, I'm somewhat interested in that movie, mostly because a lot of people that really like it are also fans of Liz and the Bluebird, which was done by her as well. like the same director. Her name is Naoko Yamada.
I see.
And it seems like she just does really good work. It looks like she initially broke into the anime scene with K-On!, which I've heard mixed things about. But a lot of like the recent stuff that she's done, Silent Voice, Listen to Bluebird, people are really, really into. So, yeah, I'll check it out. Okay, so before we move on, I did want to talk about one more thing, and that is that I've been modding Final Fantasies 7 and 9 recently. So, I know, Acer, I know you finished Final Fantasy 7.
I watched the Let's Play of it. No.
Okay.
I'm joking.
Okay. So which version of it did you play?
PlayStation 3, I think.
So did you download the PS1 version on your PS3?
Yes.
Okay. Boken, any experience with Final Fantasy 7 or 9?
I've never played 7. I do love 9 though.
Okay, then I think you should perk your ears up for this. So if you have the Steam version of Final Fantasy IX, right, there are two glaring flaws with it. One, the menus look terrible. They also changed the font, which looks ugly. But the biggest issue, arguably the most horrifying thing about the PC version, is that the backgrounds are literally the exact same backgrounds that they use in the PS1 version, just stretched to fit the higher resolutions.
No, they didn't do that.
Yes, they did. And
Jeez.
it looks so blurry. You're just walking on one giant blur. It's awful. So, thankfully, some modders, these genius modders, found a way to fix this. For Final Fantasy IX, it's called the Moguri mod. And thankfully, this mod is very easy to install. Right? All you gotta do is go to the website, you download it, the install wizard will walk you through it, and then you're done. And then you're not only does it fix the backgrounds, it also fixes the font. The font is now closer to, it's not the exact same, but like it looks a lot closer to the font from the PS1 version. And if you want, it also added a symphonic reed mixed soundtrack, which, you can either choose to have it or not. But I think just the fact that it fixes the backgrounds is like the most important thing that it does. So real quick for you guys, I'm going to copy and paste here. So check that out real quick. Go to the actual website and it will show you 3 different versions of that same shot. One from the original PS1 version, the PC version without the mod, and on the right is with the mod. And I think you'll see like such a huge difference.
It looks crazy good in the third one.
Right?
Yeah. We should probably edit it in for people who are watching.
No. Well, Danny does that.
No, let's not.
Too much work. Wait, let me
Just
read,
listen to
let
us
me read the
talk about
URL. www.
.freame.
Oh no. We'll put a link in the description. Haha, usurped. But anyways, getting off of FF9 real quick. The mod is called Moguri, Moguri. Super easy to install to the Steam version. But now we gotta talk about FF7, which I've also been modding. And unfortunately, that one is a lot more of a pain in the ass to actually work. So there is a mod that works the same as this FF9 mod does, where it fixes and cleans the backgrounds and makes it look like super clean and crisp. But you gotta jump a lot more hoops to do it. You have to install a mod called Seventh Heaven to do it. And it's just a huge pain in the ass. You gotta uninstall. If you have the game already installed, you gotta uninstall it, and you gotta reinstall it, and you have to like clean the registry keys, and you gotta mount a fake ISO version of the game in order to do a game conversion. It's a fucking trial to get it to work. But once you do, you can get the same effect. However, if you don't care about that, there is one mod that I strongly recommend that you don't need Seventh Heaven to do. You can install it the same way as this Moguri mod. All you'd have to do is follow the install wizard, called the Reunion mod. What this does, and I again strongly recommend people who like Final Fantasy VII to get this mod for the PC version. It is a complete fan translation of the script, one that is much closer and much more faithful to the original Japanese version, because the version that we got was like, I think it was something crazy. It was like translated in like 2 weeks by someone that either didn't know English or Japanese very well. It was one of the two. It was probably that.
That totally makes sense.
It's probably that they didn't know English very well. And as a result, the Final Fantasy VII's translation is complete garbage. Like, not even just like because it's unfaithful, just from like a pure grammatical level, the translation is trash. Like it's difficult to read it because scenes just don't make any sense.
Yeah.
But
bad kerning.
So on top of that, right? You have like the bad grammar, and then you have like an unfaithful translation. Let me give you an example of how unfaithful it is. Did you know that Reese, Cat Sith's, like the person that controls Cat Sith, did you know that he's supposed to have an accent?
What?
Yeah.
That's not conveyed at all.
He literally speaks in an accent, but you wouldn't know that. You could play the PS1 version 1,000 times, and you would never know that because it's not conveyed in the slightest. So yeah, again, I strongly recommend people, like, if you don't want to go through the hoops of installing Seventh Heaven, which is understandable, this other mod, the Reunion mod, is well worth your time just so you can play the game with the way it was meant to be played, right? A translation that actually reflects the source material properly.
Definitely. Seventh Heaven.
That Seventh Heaven is the name of the mod program. This other mod for the translation is called the Reunion mod, which you do not need Seventh Heaven to use. Seventh Heaven is so that you can clean the backgrounds and add better character models and stuff.
Bogan, I zoned out a bit earlier. What was your history with Final Fantasy VII?
I didn't play it.
Right. Seventh Heaven is the name of the sword. That's why.
No, it's not. Seventh Heaven is the name of Tifa's bar.
No, it's the sword. It's the sword.
No. Shut up.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah,
doing this?
like, you do realize either way, I don't give a fuck. And I'm gonna forget about it.
You should give a fuck, because FF7's a good game.
It is good. It's got a fun story and a lot of funny characters.
When in the rest of my life will I ever have the time to play a JRPG again?
It's like 2 hours long, my man.
Not quite. But anyways, we're going to be moving on to our essay topic in a little bit. But first, let's take a quick break. It's time for our essay topic. We're gonna take a sip of our espresso and start working on this essay. So today we're gonna be talking about fan service. So we're not talking about the kind of fan service that you find in like, oh, they're calling back to a character, because that's a form of fan service, right? Like, oh, it's a little cameo or like a little reference, like, oh, there's a little bit of fan service. No, we're talking about that other kind of fan service.
We're talking about, the guy tripped and he's touching the girl's boob. Oh my god, it's so awkward.
We're talking about that kind of fan service.
Why not the other one too?
Well, I guess we can.
You just want to talk about boobies?
Well, we are dirty, dirty men, so... But I guess you have a point. You know what, whatever. Yeah, let's talk about both of them. Why not? Expand the topic a bit. But the reason we wanted to initially just talk about the fan service that is like sexual in nature is because this is fueled by a rant between Acer and I, where we lamented about certain franchises that we're a fan of being just ruined by this degeneracy.
Where they introduced like this element of, oh, it's kind of a wink wink nuts nuts to like how an anime trope is. But then it stopped being just like a wink and a nuts, and it just became that.
Exactly. So for Acer, it was Yu-Gi-Oh!
Haha, surprise, guys.
And for me, it was the Fate franchise.
It wasn't the anime, it was just the cards. Konami keeps doubling down on anime waifu cards. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Talk is over. We're done with that with this podcast.
For me, it's Ease, by the way.
Ease? That's
yeah.
Ease?
I don't think it's as bad as our examples.
No, it's not that bad.
But it's kind of there. I felt it with East 8, where, like, especially in the very beginning, where Adol gets slapped by the token Tsundere because he finds her naked.
They are shipwrecking, and the first thing you find on the island is her taking a bath in a fucking lake.
Guys,
does she have other things to worry about?
Are we talking about Code Geass, where that exact thing happened? Twice?
Oh my god, you're right. Oh my god. I hate that show.
That happened on an island, but there was also a scene where he met her in her apartment or something, and she was naked taking a shower. So much nudity in that show.
There was a lot.
And they're 16, 17-year-old children. That's super disturbing.
Yeah, with
it wasn't disturbing.
Double D tits.
Yeah, it wasn't. It made total sense when I was like 14. Nah, probably not. I was older when I first watched that show. But now that I'm older than all of the characters in that show, I'm like, man, ooh, that's not good.
Big yikes.
Big yikes.
So
are we gonna? I'll just quickly. Are we including stuff like Darling in the Franxx, where it's controlled by like these very, very fan servicey? The girls are in this doggy style position. Okay.
Yes.
For you, something.
Yes. So for me, it's the Fate series, and it's especially annoying because. So if you look at the character designs in the original Fate Stay Night visual novel, the most sexualized character is Ryder, and I think everyone would agree if you look up what she looks like. Her design is tame, but and that's as far as it got in the original Fate Stay Night. But now with the gacha game, with the mobile game Fate Grand Order, it seems as if like they just got like a bunch of different artists, because originally it was only done by Takashi Takeuchi, and he has very tasteful designs. Like he doesn't, like even when he's drawing like characters that are meant to be kind of seductive, he's kind of conservative about it, because he doesn't want the sexuality to kind of overtake the design. But with Fate Grand Order, obviously he couldn't do the designs for every single character because it's like a gacha game, and there's so many terrible designs where it's just like these half naked girls. It's disgusting. Like this, and I'm not a prude, right? I'm not a prude. I'm not bothered by this sort of thing. Like, enjoy your Senran Kagura's. Like, that's fine, whatever. You know, that's made for that sort of thing. But my problem is that Fate wasn't about that, and that's suddenly about that now, and I hate that. That's what bothers me.
This girl's uniform is entirely a cleavage.
Whose?
She's some black girl. Fate Grand Order characters, TV shows. Anyway, yeah. Probably another example. I was talking about Darling in the Franxx. It's all over the place in anime. Like, it's really bad in anime specifically. Games, they have it bad too. But something about anime. I think it's because anime, and I don't know this, I'm just talking here, so correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm overgeneralizing. But I think so much of anime, of that industry, is kept afloat by this sort of people who really enjoy this sort of merchandise of super sexy anime girls.
I can't tell you for certain, but that seems to be the case.
So disappointing. Because it's an entire section of entertainment which is just awash with this degeneracy.
Okay, but you guys explain to me why it is actually bad. Like, what is the actual problem?
What are you, like a bad Republican, Bogan?
What?
No, well, the problem is that it becomes harder, first of all, to take characters seriously when it becomes harder to take them seriously when they're presented as sex objects first, and then they have some minor characterization. There's also, I think there's an issue with it becomes kind of lazy, where you can reliably just make this sort of substandard nothing show so long as you have sexy anime girls in it, and people will buy it. It's the same problem probably with brand recognition, where you don't need to try as hard.
I think, and to be clear, we're not saying that like there's anything wrong with sexuality inherently in media. The problem is its implementation. So let's look at the first Nier, for example. There's a character in it named Kaine, who her design is very sexualized, but there's a point to it. Her sexualized design is juxtaposed with her very aggressive and abrasive personality. Not only that, it's not just for the sake of the juxtaposition, but it ties directly with her backstory. I'm not going to go into the specifics, but I'm just going to say, like, she was treated very poorly because of a specific, I'm going to say there's something about her body that made the villagers around her treat her poorly as a result. And her dressing the way that she does in the game is in defiance of how those people treated her because of that of her body. There was so much thought put into her character. There's so much thought put into her design. There's so much thought put into the sexuality. It isn't there just for the sake of titillation. It was an integral part of her character. And to be clear, there's nothing wrong with it being there for face value either, right? Like I was saying before, Senran Kagura, that's all Senran Kagura really is. I'm sure some people will disagree. No, there's actually a good story, blah, blah, blah. Fine, whatever. But let's not kid ourselves. One of the main points of Senran Kagura is just the fan service, but it wears it on its sleeve, right? That's what it's all about, and it doesn't hide from it. It's not ashamed about it. It knows what it is, and it's appealing to that kind of specific demographic, and there's nothing wrong with that. Where I take issue is where, like, I have my Fate series that I care very much about. I read the visual novel, I've seen most of the anime. It's something I care a lot about, and then to see it go from a place where it didn't have any of that to suddenly it being prevalent, it makes it harder for me to like talk about the series or recommend it because, there are people that are going into it for reasons that I didn't, right? That I went into it because I liked the story and I liked the characters and I liked the themes but then we have all these other people who are going into it because of the gacha game and they're like, oh, she's got them nice tetas, like, and again, it's created this perception. It's created this appearance of like, oh, that's that trash that people enjoy because it's got all this crap in it. And that's really, really frustrating to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, I totally agree. This shit bothers me as well. And it's like a lot of recent discussion about anime is like 80%, like at least for a lot of anime, just about who's the best girl.
Waifu wars.
That is everything people want to fucking talk about. And then draw out of them and just, oh, she's so cute, oh, I like her, blah, blah, blah. There's
God, she's best girl.
Yeah, there's like no discussion of anything of the themes or like the narrative structure, fucking whatever. It's just who is the cutest girl and why.
Who gets my pee-pee the hardest? It's also lowered expectations. I think we could also lop into what's wrong with this, where you don't need to reward the viewer with interesting drama, with deep characterization, or like themes being explored properly, when you can just put boobs on the screen every now and then and keep them watching.
It promotes a certain level of laziness, and I hate using that word when I'm talking about like the creative process and the people behind it, because I think it's generally kind of disingenuous. But I don't know how else to describe it in this case. That's just how it comes across. Like, because why try hard in writing like really great characters when you can just come up with a character design that's sexual and cute, and like horny otakus will just buy it up.
Yeah. Another part of this is also girls don't want to watch, or girls don't watch anime. They don't read manga or play video games even in the same capacity as boys do, because none of this stuff is catered towards them. It's always give them the sexy girl, and then the girls who might have otherwise really enjoyed the story, they're gonna go like, oh, no, that's probably not made for me. Where you watch something like Avatar or Titanic, those things, whatever you think of those movies, they appeal to everybody. James Cameron didn't need to do, well, I guess he did kind of with Avatar. There's no gratuitous titillation of the senses with those stories, because he wants to entertain everybody. It's something everyone can enjoy. And when you have so much fan service, there's no way you can take seriously a character who's just there to flaunt her breasts every now and then.
And to be clear, again, if that's what the show is going for, I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. I think the problem is that it's become so oversaturated. There's just so much of it.
Yeah.
It's in a lot of cases it's worse when it's just thrown in there randomly. It just comes out of nowhere and has no purpose, and it's like, okay, like it's kind of fourth wall breaking.
Yeah.
And I think, you might be saying that we're generalizing a bit, and we're not saying like every anime is like this, but this is the perception. I don't think you can really fight me on that, where that's how a lot of people see anime, where some of the biggest stuff, like Fairy Tail, for example, has big bouncy boobies, and it's like that's clearly a huge appeal for the show. I'm not saying that's the only appeal of the show, but you can't deny that that's a part of it.
Yeah, but for some reason every female character needs to look like that. There are no older women or ugly women. Like it's very
uniform.
Yeah, uniform.
One Piece is like that too, where every woman they always have the same proportion, like big boobs.
Well, actually, One Piece has
hips.
a lot of ugly women as well, but not important characters.
Big Mama.
That's what I'm saying. They either there's one body type, which is just big boobs, big hips.
Hourglass
everything
figure?
else is just perfect hourglass figure. Then there are children, and then there are old decrepit women. There's no character who's just like, hey, I'm a girl and I look like a normal human being. Are you killing somebody, Daniel? What the hell? Bats are attacking him.
What, are you talking about my dog?
That was the dog?
That's the dog.
I just hear high-pitched squeaks.
That's the dog.
That's the dog. That's a little fan service for you people. Daniel Dog ruins yet another podcast.
I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do about her.
But on the flip side of this stuff, when you see fan service, like, did you guys watch Thor, The Dark World? I think that second movie was called.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
That movie sucked. But there was a scene in it where Loki transformed into Captain America, and Chris Evans showed up and played Captain America for like a minute, and I was in the theater, bored out of my mind, and then I was like, hey, I recognize him, that's so cool. And then the movie started sucking again. I think that's good sort of fan service. That's probably not the best example.
Doctor Who has a lot of fan service of that kind, and I think it's not always handled the best, but I think it's generally really good. For example, the first season with Christopher Eccleston, when he first finds a Dalek, he finds it's like old and broken and decrepit, and he goes on this rant on the Dalek. He's talking shit to him, and then the Dalek is like going nuts, and it's just like trying to kill him, but he can't because he's broken down. And it's this great scene because the Daleks are like this revered enemy of the Doctor, and here is a Dalek like trying desperately to kill the Doctor but just can't, and Eccleston is just has this great acting moment where he's just like talking down to him, and it's like, so good.
How is that fan service?
Well, it's fan service because like you thought, if you had kept up with Doctor Who, you'd think like the Daleks were all gone, but then but now you see like there's one left. Then after that, there's more Daleks that happen after that, anyways. But like for that moment, it was really cool.
Yeah,
there's
I think
tons of callbacks. Actually, there's one fan service moment in that I really, really appreciated, where they brought back the actor of like one of the older Doctors, and he like gives some advice to the current Doctor. That was in like one of the movies that they made, and that was actually a really cool moment because he's like in his 80s. He's like so old, but he's giving this like impassioned like advice to like the Doctor. And it's kind of like this nudge, nudge, wink, wink moment of like, it's the actor, but like, is it actually the Doctor or is it just the actor playing a character? Like, it's kind of made ambiguous, which I thought was really cool.
You know what I really like? I really like very well-earned fan service. Like, that move the story along. Like, I was thinking about this example. In Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, I just watched the anime. There's a moment where you think, they killed Roy Mustang, and now Lust is gonna go kill Risa and Al. And then Roy Mustang goes back, and it's such a triumphant moment for him. And that's such a badass moment. And it's totally fan service, but it totally works.
Because he like closed up his wounds with his flames.
Yeah, and it was also like how these characters had been on the back. The good guys had been losing this battle, had been on the back foot for such a long time, and it was so gratifying to see them finally get a big win like that. Because they'd been like, this was after Mace Hughes was killed. This was after like the revelations were starting to pour in, and the characters were getting isolated, and it was like, oh man, we're at our absolute lowest. And then Roy Mustang comes back, and that's great fan service where it's not gratuitous. It's not like they could have definitely handled it in a way where, oh no, we're gonna do more subtle things. We're gonna be more quiet about it. But like they did the roaring music and it's like crazy anime speech about like, I'm gonna put you down, and if you keep getting back up, I'm just gonna put you down again, and he incinerates her to crap. That's really good fan service.
That's just a great moment. That's just a fantastic moment.
There's also they call back to that scene when he's fighting Envy, but then that's not gratuitous at all. Then it's like, dude, you need to calm the fuck down because you're losing your mind to this obsession of yours. And I think that's a very smart way to do it, where they replay the scene, but the context is different, and it ends up being oh no, I'm not gonna take this beast out in like a blaze of glory. I'm not even gonna be the one who does it.
It's not even worth it at that point.
Yeah.
It's beneath him.
Yeah, it's also just like, man, where are you gonna go after you kill her? Is that it, or do you think you can just stop at that point? Like when is it enough? Anyway, I think that's great fan service. Because it doesn't betray a character you like. Like, it's a reward. I think, is that good? Can we put that as sort of a litmus test? A good fan service is generally both service for the fans and service for the actual character.
Sure, I can agree with that. I will say, though, like, this is more so unique to video games. But, like, one thing I really like about the Tales series is that you can do these tournaments or these like arena battles, and if you reach at the end, you will actually fight the main characters of prior titles. And what I really like about that is that it kind of lifts up those old characters. Like, one, it's like, oh man, this was the main character of whatever Tales game. That's awesome. So it has that element of familiarity. Or if it's not, then you haven't played that game, it makes you want to play the game because they seem so cool in this game. But it also just like does a great job of building those characters up and kind of making them seem that much more legendary, because they're usually hard. Like, they're usually like really hard fights.
Wasn't there a Pokemon game which did that, where you fight Trainer Red?
That's the post game of Moon and Sun.
That's really cool. I remember people were kind of happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, I knew about it beforehand, and it's not like I care that much about Red.
So,
it's still kind of cool.
It's cool. But that is pure fan service. That doesn't really advance the character or anything. It's just, remember this?
Yeah.
Sure. But like I said with the Tales example, I think it does a good job of like kind of building the legacy of those characters.
What's another example of fan service? What's another angle we could crack the topic from?
Well, Star Trek Discovery, for example. Just bringing back Spock. Bringing back Pike. All that shit.
Did they get Zachary Quinto to play Spock?
I think no. Spock hasn't been in any scene yet, and it's just the worst fucking thing.
Oh my god.
Spock is missing for various reasons, and it somehow is involved in the plot. But it's just the main character, who is Spock's sister, insisting that they had this like troubled, important relationship. And it's just not shown. She's just telling the captain about their relationship. And I couldn't give Spock less of a fuck about that shit. And I'm not sure where they will go with Spock, but I'm sure it's going to be awful, because that show is awful.
Yeah, I think there are ways then that this kind of fan service can go horribly wrong. And it just kind of like shits on those characters inadvertently.
Yeah. But maybe there is a balancing act here, because you cannot give fans just none of what they want. Otherwise you get a movie like The Last Jedi, which, whatever you think of that movie, the negative response is so overblown because people had every one of their hopes dashed by that movie, because they spent so much time, working themselves up into a fervor about like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? So you probably need to do some amount of fan service to quiet those voices, I think.
But at the same time, shouldn't a creator create the thing that they want? They shouldn't have to feel obligated to fulfill the desires of fans.
Absolutely. That's probably true, though. Absolutely. Empire Strikes Back, I don't think there's any fan service in that movie. Like to the first movie.
No, and if you... a lot of the reception of that movie when it first came out was negative.
Yeah.
Even though it's looked back upon now as like the best Star Wars movie, when it first came out, people were not a huge fan of it.
Nope.
Well, the problem with The Last Jedi is that in terms of fan service, people are just disappointed with the direction that Luke went, for example. And I think you can make an argument about is that character still coherent or not without it being about fan service. It's just about character writing. But of course, the people who really like Luke Skywalker are going to be pissed.
I just sort of a side tangent. I really hated when people who are talking about Star Wars are going like, "Oh, but look at how powerful she is because she lifted the rocks," or when they quote like those power stats, like on the Wikipedia, the Star Wars Wikia, they're like power stats, and this is the powers of the characters, and these are the power levels. Man, is that not exactly? Yeah, who cares? First of all, but also that's exactly what Yoda was telling Luke. The Force was not. Like, did you miss that part in Empire Strikes Back when Luke was training and Yoda told him that stuff isn't relevant? That's not what we're doing here. I just feel like so many people like those movies because, oh my god, spinny lightsabers.
Well,
and that's probably a form of fan service.
Spinny lightsabers.
I like spinny lightsabers, but that can't be all there is to those
I
movies.
don't think I like it anymore, though. Yeah.
Hey. Jedi Outcast still makes spinny lightsabers pretty awesome.
Yeah. And Jedi Academy had like cutscenes with spinny lightsabers, and they look great.
Too bad the story wasn't great.
Yep.
But the game is still good.
The game is still good.
It's still a good game.
Except
Just
for
skip
all the
the
crappy
cutscenes.
missions.
One of these games, that sort of mentality is going to die out, I think. The idea that, oh, the story wasn't great, but the game was good. That's like saying, oh, the story wasn't great, but the movie was good. But we've
I don't think so. I think that mentality is going to stick.
No, I think it's going to change because I think we're eventually going to crack how to do a game and story as one. Because we segment them now. Like, here's the game part, and then you watch the movie, and there's the story. I think we're absolutely going to get it.
I mean,
but not
there's...
every game, not every developer, not every writer is going to get it. Like, sure, it's going to get better, but there will still be games with a crappy story and good gameplay. Or the other way around.
So...
Now, see, I think that the games today, and we're going way off subject here. I think so many games are designed around keeping you playing, but the actual act of playing the game has nothing to do with telling the story. And I think, like, in 10 years, 20 years, we'll have reached the point where, oh, that's how we're supposed to make these games. We're supposed to use those games to tell the story. In whatever form that takes. We're probably going to have to get, like, very weird controllers to be able to do that.
The thing is, though, now this isn't obviously the case with every single game ever, but generally speaking, the way that game development works, the games are made first. The story is written around the content that the developers came up with. And that actually explains a lot of why video game stories come out as disjointed or as poorly written as they do. It's not because they get incompetent writers, even though that can be the case. A lot of times it often is just because it's hard for a writer to make sense out of like disparate levels just being created in voids.
Yeah,
that's why
it's not only that though. It's also the writing being just a part of the video game process, whereas like video games don't necessarily have huge scripts or screenplays, so it's like, hey, we can't do that cutscene with the incredibly important character moment because we don't have time to generate the assets to actually do it. Or like that part that you wanted to write here that doesn't work with this mechanic or this level design, and then it just gets cut.
That's probably going to come from what I'm talking about, where it's all united. That's probably going to be some indie game, like a Minecraft, like a new Minecraft, which sets the world on fire.
But that shit already exists. Like,
no, I'm not saying Minecraft is going to come again. I'm saying some other game is going to come and absolutely knock it out of the park, and people are going to be turned off to the idea that you just play a game like a Tetris, and then you watch a cutscene, and that's the story.
Dude, we're way beyond that already.
No, not really. It's still nothing about The Last of Us the game tells the story of The Last of Us the movie. Like, you can argue animations and the stuff they say while you're in gameplay,
Yeah, but
it's still disjointed from the method you're usually absorbing narrative.
Yeah, but that's Last of Us. Like, take something like Gorogoa, for example. That does it perfectly.
That may be. I'm just talking... But Gora is not like The Last of Us. I know you talked very highly of it. I'm saying, just in terms of how many people are playing it, I think the AAA industry is going to be the last thing that's going to be changed by this.
Sure.
We can probably cut all of this conversation out if we
No,
want
this is
to.
good. No, I like this.
I actually wanted to bring this up as an extra essay topic for another week. Just the storytelling through gameplay and how a lot of games are still limited in what types of stories they can actually reasonably explore, just because there always has to be combat, or there always has to be building or something.
Or there always has to be
resource
movement.
management. Yeah.
No, visual novels don't work that way.
Sure, yeah. I mean, there are examples, of course, but I would argue 97% of games have some form of violence in them.
Yeah, not only that, but then you have to get into the uncomfortable discussion of, are they even video games?
Oh boy.
Kill me.
Are walking simulators actually video games?
Oh, man.
Personally, I think they are in like a very, very, very loose sense. But whatever, I don't think it really matters either way.
It
They're
doesn't
interactive.
matter.
They're interactive experiences that are cool, man. That's all that matters.
Anyway, it seems like we're done talking about fan service then. Or is there still more?
No, I feel like I got everything out. It was very cathartic.
There's definitely a problem in not being able to take characters seriously. Like, especially with sexualized character designs. Which a lot of people get really pissy about when you point that out. But I'm like, okay, I'm trying to imagine the character actually living in the reality of her own world. And why the fuck she would ever dress like that? It makes no sense.
See, there are characters that make it work, though, like Bayonetta. Like, Bayonetta...
Yeah, there are characters
perfect.
where sexuality is just a part of their character. Like, there's Laura from Street Fighter V, who is very intimate, and she's a grappler, and, you know, she's like, playful and free-spirited, and that works perfectly. But then you look at a character like Cammy, I'm sure you guys know Cammy from Street Fighter, who's wearing
wears
like
a green leotard.
Yeah, like what the fuck is that? That she's like a broken doll who escaped, who probably got raped and misused by M. Bison, and then she's gonna wear
Christ. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he has his dolls. He's either using them as sex slaves or as spare bodies, which means M. Bison really wants to be a cute anime girl, but yeah.
I'm learning more about Street Fighter than I ever wanted to.
Those are the dolls, and she was one of them. And anyway, the point being that she has no fucking reason to dress like that when she's going into combat, and she has nothing sexualized about her character at all.
It's just there for the sake of it.
Yeah.
It's there because people find it hot.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put that. Bad fan service is when you could cut it without it impacting the story.
Or the character.
Or the character. Do you guys remember in The Last of Us when Joel was waking up after being injured and it was like winter and I
never played it.
There's a scene where he was injured and you play as Ellie through that scene, and then she gets captured and Joel wakes up, and it's just like he was bedridden for like 2 months or something, and you play him and he captures a guy and he's like torturing him, and it's kind of fan service because it's like, yeah, look at how badass he is, but it's also like, dude, what kind of what lies at the bedrock of your ethical compass that you would torture a man for this information.
You know, that kind of reminds me of something that I read about Enslaved: Odyssey to the West, which was made by Ninja Theory, where originally they wrote Monkey, the main character, to be more of a douchebag. And it was misguided because the developers thought they were making him badass. But, like, it took, I think it was Andy Serkis who may have done it, who may have made the suggestion, but he basically said that you shouldn't do it that way because you're not making him cool, you're making him a jerk. And I think that influenced the character a lot, and they took him in a different direction.
Do you remember in DMC when shit Dante was going through like a carnival or something, and a white wig flew on his head, and he was like, "Ha, not in a million years." What kind of was that? Good fan service?
You know who you're talking to, right?
What the fuck?
But see,
that's the worst fan service you can possibly bring out, because everyone hates you for it. There are no fans of that.
But yeah, I know. But that's the thing. That's a completely different kind of fan service where it's misguided, but also, who do you think you're servicing here?
It's anti-fan service. It's telling the fans to fuck off.
Yeah. You know how you go to a restaurant and you get service, but how in some restaurants they just tell you to go eat out of the trash? Yeah, this was the this was that.
There's actually something called a tsundere cafe in Japan where all the waitresses just act like your typical anime tsundere girls, and they're just like...
It sounds so awkward.
So, yeah, instead of, like, providing, like, normal service, the girls will be, like... They'll come up to you, and they'll just, like, throw the plate on the table or whatever, and they'll be like, ugh, what do you want?
What?
That sounds like my personal hell.
Yeah,
that sounds like somebody else's personal heaven, though.
No, but I know it's an actress. That's that's like halfway to prostitution.
I know, but there are some guys out there who are like, "Oh my god, that's so cool."
So if you want to see what that's like, online, like
which Spoken clearly does by his surrounding moans.
So I don't know if either of you have seen Game Center CX.
I'm YouTubing it right now.
It's literally Let's Plays before Let's Plays as a TV show. It is fantastic. But the guy that does the show, his name is Arino, and he's a comedian. And it wasn't part of Game Center CX that he did this. He was like hanging out with some other comedians, and they went to one of those bars. He actually went dressed up as Arino from Gundam. Not Arino, Amuro from Gundam, which was fucking awesome.
What do you say those bars' names were named?
I don't know. Anyway, I'll try and look for it afterwards and link it to you. But anyways, let's bring this to a close. So, gentlemen, what have you guys been working on? Boken, what can we expect from you in the future?
Oh man, it's a whole nother topic I maybe wanted to get into. I said last time I'm looking for a video editor that I can hire. And I asked a bunch of American friends if they want to do freelance video editing work. And you know what? Fucking in the USA, the hourly rates are just... What the fuck is going on over there? Like... Why do you have such high hourly rates that I can fucking afford to pay you for such a simple job?
Student loans.
Dude, and then I got into this whole spiral of looking up living expenses in the US. You're fucking paying like $1,400 a month for an apartment?
Yeah, a friend of mine actually spends $2,000 for his apartment.
That's what the fuck, and not even a huge apartment in a good city, but like a normal apartment in Baltimore is like $1,500 a month. What is going on?
Bogan, I'm gonna reveal something about my history. My first apartment, it was a tiny living room, a tiny kitchen, a tiny bedroom, and one hallway which connected all of them. And then you had to go outside of my apartment to the shared bathroom. And this was like 40 square meters apartment if we count the bathroom. And I was paying roughly $1,400 a month for that.
What the fuck?
Iceland has such ridiculous living costs. It is insanity. Let's just legally tie the cost of apartments to the value of the currency. And then the currency tripled in value because of all the tourists. And now everybody pays crazy rent.
That is, you know what? How much I pay for my apartment? I pay $600 for a 66 square meters apartment. Wonderful. Like, I have a garden, I have a balcony. I live 5 minutes away from the city, like the actual inner city. I'm still in the city, of course. 5 minutes away from the main train station. It's fucking beautiful here. And I have a roommate, so I'm paying half of that.
What? And yet, what the hell? We've learned a lot about Icelandic extortion apartments today, haven't we?
But like, and the problem is, I make a good fucking wage now. I have a full-time job, and I'm like, I have a decent fucking salary in comparison to what most people earn, and I can't afford to hire an American for freelance editing work because you know the currency exchange rate between euro and dollar is still roughly 1-to-1. That is so fucked.
You should get an Indian guy to do it, and then you have like very weird segues of like ay la la la, and there's like a guy who dances. Guy who dances. No, we're not that racist, you guys.
No, we're not. You are.
I didn't even say that, first of all. No, I love that. I love those videos.
But yeah, I could totally outsource this to someone from Asia's. Blah. Fucking hell, I can't speak anymore. Anyway, what have you guys been doing?
Hey, sir, what you been up to?
I finalized the KOTOR script, and I have like half of it ready to edit. And then I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do KOTOR 2.
Woo!
See how easy this was? See how easy it was?
Okay.
No, we didn't get into a diatribe about Indian culture here. Kept it very mellow.
Well, as for me, I'm still working on my Tales of Hysteria critique because I have to rewatch the cutscenes, which is like 15 hours worth of cutscenes. So I want to shoot myself in the face.
How far in are you?
Like 1 hour.
Jesus.
So I don't know when that's going to come out. So I decided, you know what? I want to have something else come out in the meantime. So this idea just came to me where I forget what triggered it, but I was thinking about the ending of an anime called School Days. Have either of you watched this anime?
I've heard of it.
No.
You're better off. It is one of the worst anime I've ever seen. It's fucking terrible. But here's the thing, right? The anime's ending is infamous. People have gone on record to say that they hate the show but love the ending. So the initial spark of the idea for me was, no, the ending is actually also terrible. But I understand why people like it so much. And I kind of like the ending too for those emotional reasons. But the ending itself is dumb as shit. So the original impetus for the idea was, I'm just going to make a video explaining why the ending is dumb. But in the process of doing that, I realized that I have to actually explain everything and kind of like dissect everything that happens throughout the show that leads up to the ending. So I've been rewatching the show. And I'm going to put it like this. Watching the show the first time around is an extremely aggravating experience. Watching the show the second time is a uniquely aggravating experience. Because, like, my memories of the show are kind of faded, but I still remember a lot of the same beats. So, like, I'm anticipating certain things, but then I've forgotten other elements. So I'm just, like, getting angrier and angrier in totally new ways. So this should make for a fun video. Hopefully. Maybe. I will say that if you haven't seen the show, that you could easily watch the video, because the intent is to explain everything you need to know in order to, like, fully understand the ending. And along the way, I will also be, like, providing some analysis and mostly criticism of the show. So hopefully, I do feel like, if I'm being honest, writing the script, that it's suffering from a little bit of an identity crisis in that respect. So I'm hoping that, like, as I write it and I hammer it out, that it kind of works. So we'll see.
Something materializes out of it.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I'm very, like, I'm writing and I'm really liking how it's coming out. So we'll see. Anyways, that's it. That's this episode of the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed. This has been Daniel with Acer Aesthetics.
That's me. Hi.
And Bokenjima. We are Essays and Espresso. Take care, everyone.